For the New York Giants, 2021 was a bad year, but a necessary and important bad year. So I predicted the Giants would go 4-13 in 2021, and that is exactly what happened. I nailed it. The reality is that the New York Giants went exactly 4-13 in 2021. And during my prediction segment, I rambled on and on and on about how I hated the way this football team was built because the Giants had a bad offensive line and a bad quarterback. And my main problem with the Giants was I said, hopefully after this year, Dave Gettleman will no longer be the Giants general manager. And hey, that's what happened. The Giants fired their head coach, Joe Judge, and their GM, Dave Gettleman, was allowed to retire. They let him leave in a respectful way. Instead of firing him, they let him leave with dignity. Now they actually just hired a new GM with the New York Giants, Joe Schoen, who was the assistant GM in Buffalo. And look, 2021 was an embarrassing year for Giants fans. Their offense was second to last in the NFL. Their defense was actually not terrible. They were mediocre, and given how bad the offense was, I thought the Giants defense played pretty well. And if you looked at one side of the football and said, hey, that was, there's a lot of things to feel good about on the defensive side of the football for the Giants. Now, the big problem in New York, not only the offensive line, but the quarterback. The Giants had three different quarterbacks start for them this year: Mike Glennon, Daniel Jones, and Jake Fromm. Those three quarterbacks combined to throw 15 touchdown passes and 20 interceptions in 2021. In basically every game this year, the other team had a better quarterback than the Giants in 2021. And again, while it was a painful year last year, this past year, whatever you want to call it, it did lead to changes in New York. And so getting a new GM, having a new coach on the way, probably getting a new quarterback to replace Daniel Jones, or whatever that looks like, whether you trade your 5th and 7th overall pick for a guy like Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, or you draft somebody, maybe Malik Willis, or you trade for Jimmy Garoppolo and draft Malik Willis. Whatever you do there, I think there's a lot of options at quarterback for the New York Giants other than Daniel Jones. I would keep Daniel Jones. Hey, why not bring him in, let him compete in training camp? But man, the Giants have a ways to go. But I think when I look back on 2021 for the New York Giants, it will be a year that I hope their fan base is always grateful for, because it finally pushed ownership to make a change and say, hey, we can't be stagnant anymore. We got to get a new GM. We got to get a new coach. We got to get a new quarterback. We have to make changes. And if we don't, we're never going to win. I don't know what happened, because there was a report where, Giants ownership put out there was a rumor saying, yeah, we're going to keep the coach, we're going to keep the quarterback, we're not going to do anything. And people revolted. I was so angry. I was like, they're just going to do nothing? Are you kidding me? And I don't know if it's Miami firing Brian Flores, because they made their decision pretty late to fire Joe Judge. I don't know what happened, but oh my gosh. Looking back on 2021 for the Giants, the worst moment for me was when they ran a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9 from their own 4-yard line. And you're like, did that just happen? What are they doing? It was such a weird moment of a lack of anything. I don't know what. That's by far, in my opinion, the worst moment of the Giants season in 2021. And kind of a microcosm of what happened. A quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9. Final game of the year with Jake Fromm. I'm curious, please write in, what were the best and worst moments in your Giant fandom this past year in 2021? I'm curious what Giants fans will have to say. New York sports fans are, oh my gosh, I love you guys. I think it's my favorite group of humans in the sports world. You guys are passionate, you guys are angry, and truly one of a kind. Nobody hates the New York Giants quite like a New York Giants fan. And nobody loves a team like you guys. And I really enjoy it. I'm glad that I'm not a Giants fan, but I love covering the Giants because there is so much care and passion with this fan base. And I want to know, hey, how do you feel about the moves? What's happening here? I will always look back on this year and say, hallelujah, this is the year that finally the Giants ownership said, no more. We got to make a change and make stuff happen because we are tired of being just a mediocre franchise in the NFL. And for that, it's kind of like, I hate to make this reference. I was watching Pete Davidson last night talking about Ariana Grande, and he was talking about how, there's that song "Thank You Next" where she goes, "For Pete, I'm so thankful," like whatever, and she goes like, "I'm thankful for my ex," right? It's looking back on how even though the past stuff may not have all been good, it really shaped who you are. I think that's exactly how. The same way Ariana Grande looks back on Pete Davidson and the song "Thank You Next." What is this show? What's happening? I think that's exactly how Giants fans will feel about the 2021 season. It's a year that was very negative, but it was a necessary year of growth that I think was the only way forward for Giants fans to possibly be the catalyst to make changes happen. And for that, I will always be grateful for the 2021 season for the New York Giants. A painful one, a bad one, a horrible, ugly one, but a necessary one in order for change to happen for the New York Giants.